Understanding the passive nakshatras, Ashwini. In Vedic astrology, passive nakshatras represent awareness, empathy, and the surrender of ego-driven will to divine timing. Unlike active nakshatras, which seek to penetrate, cut, or reform, passive nakshatras work through intuition, acceptance, and the subtle realignment of energy. Their power lies not in force, but in initiation through stillness, compassion, or inner awareness. Ashwini, ruled by Ketu and symbolized by a horse's head, is the cosmic initiator, not by loud declarations, but by primal impulse. As the very first nakshatra, it embodies the soul's first exhalation into form, quick to act but often unaware of its own consequences. When afflicted, Ashwini can express as listlessness or paralyzing idealism. When favorable, it opens the gates to rapid healing, spiritual service, and divine intervention. Third house, skills, talent, communication core expression, spontaneous genius, hands-on healing, speed and courage in crisis. Sun in Ashwini, third, brings leadership in emergency response or dynamic communication. These individuals lead through action, not just speech, and are excellent in urgent situations, military, ambulances, athletic training. Mars in Ashwini infuses bravery and mechanical skill into the hands. Surgeons, mechanics, athletes, and physical trainers emerge from this combination. They act fast but must learn to pace their output. Mercury in Ashwini favors mental agility. These natives are quick-witted, direct, and often involved in speed-related professions, emergency communications, logistics, tech. They may also write about spiritual or healing topics. Talent themes: emergency medicine, athletics, automobile systems, reflex-based arts, healing hands. Shadow side: reckless action, impatience in learning, verbal clashes with peers, burnout. Fifth house: creative intelligence and learning style core expression. Spontaneous creativity, childlike joy, mental speed with sacred inclinations. Sun or Jupiter in Ashwini, fifth, brings moral and spiritual leadership in education. They may be guides, teachers, or healers who spark change through enthusiasm. A natural connection to Vedic learning or mantra-based rituals often appears. Venus in Ashwini here adds a blend of aesthetic joy and urgency, creating art that's healing, raw, and often unfiltered. They may feel creatively restless and require multiple outlets. Talent themes: mantric chanting, competitive arts, sacred sports, speed-based learning. Shadow side: creative restlessness, impatience with students or children, ego wounding through criticism. Ninth house: higher learning and belief systems, core expression, adventurous seeking, spiritual trailblazing, intuitive wisdom from past lives. Sun or Saturn in Ashwini, ninth, denotes a restless search for spiritual truth. These natives may reject tradition in favor of healing paths, Ayurveda, Vedic astrology, acupuncture. Their beliefs are reborn through trials. Mars in Ashwini gives a missionary zeal to one's philosophy. Action becomes worship. Pilgrimage, spiritual activism, or martial spiritual practices may dominate. Talent themes: Gurukula systems, spiritual sports, sacred warriorship, alternative healing traditions. Shadow side: religious impatience, moral righteousness, dogmatic urgency. 10th house: career, purpose, public contribution, core expression, pioneering service, fast response leadership, healing roles in crisis settings. Sun in Ashwini, 10th, creates a career path focused on healing, rescue, or rapid mobilization. They may be founders of healing institutions or lead by instinctive timing. Saturn or Mercury in Ashwini cultivates a disciplined healer archetype. These individuals work in high-pressure professions: trauma medicine, rescue logistics, government service. Their work is impactful, but they must guard against exhaustion. Talent themes: paramedics, crisis counselors, startup visionaries, spiritual entrepreneurs. Shadow side: overcommitting to service, burnout from leadership stress, suppression of emotional needs. Conclusion: Ashwini in the passive nakshatra class opens doors not by pushing, but by sensing the moment for swift, subtle initiation. It teaches the value of timely action with awareness. These natives embody divine speed, not the speed of ego, but the grace of immediate alignment with healing and purpose. Understanding the passive nakshatras, Mrigashira, ruled by Mars and symbolized by the deer's head, is a passive nakshatra that navigates life through curiosity, sensory awareness, and cautious pursuit. Unlike the bold force of active nakshatras, Mrigashira prefers to explore before committing, observe before acting. Its energy is mentally agile, emotionally searching, and devoted to refining understanding. When afflicted, it can result in indecision, idealistic paralysis, or nervous exhaustion. When favorable, it gives charm, intelligence, and a deep hunger to learn and connect meaningfully. This nakshatra expresses itself most powerfully in environments that require detail, research, artistry, or sensual refinement. It carries the delicate power of the seeker, one who feels the world before shaping it. Third house, skills, talent, communication. Core expression, skilled inquiry, artistic detail, instinctive communication. Sun in Mrigashira, third, brings a gentle but persuasive communication style. These natives often influence others through story, humor, or personal warmth. They're ideal in roles like counselors, narrators, or writers who use subtle power. Mars in Mrigashira sharpens the hands and mind for precision. There is a drive to master craftsmanship. Woodworking, mechanics, martial arts, or investigative journalism are favored. Mercury in Mrigashira creates a restless but graceful intelligence. These individuals excel in design, advertising, market research, or fashion. They are sensitive to tone, style, and cultural nuance. Talent themes: writing, crafting, forensics, media, acting, sculpting, design. Shadow side: overanalysis, doubt and expression, rivalry with siblings, scattered learning focus. Fifth house: creative intelligence and learning style. Core expression: aesthetic brilliance, refined performance, pattern recognition. Sun or Jupiter in Mrigashira, fifth, gifts the native with poetic learning and delicate creativity. Their intelligence is subtle, deeply artistic, and often tied to nature, healing, or mythology. Venus in Mrigashira produces great romantic artists, dancers, designers, or musicians. These individuals often bring ancient grace into modern expression and have excellent taste in love and aesthetics. Talent themes: poetry, dance, sensory learning, sculpture, Ayurveda-based education. Shadow side: creative anxiety, emotional sensitivity to criticism, attachment to praise. Ninth house: higher learning and belief systems. Core expression: cultural scholarship, intuitive faith, poetic devotion. Sun or Saturn in Mrigashira, ninth, makes for lifelong learners who often switch belief systems or educational paths. They may be cultural anthropologists, philosophical writers, or gentle reformers. Mars in Mrigashira gives courage to challenge belief systems with logic and inquiry. These are the travelers of faith, exploring worldviews and bringing home refined truths. Talent themes: language scholarship, comparative philosophy, temple architecture, traditional healing. Shadow side: spiritual confusion, over-questioning elders, idealistic swings between faith and doubt. 10th house: career, purpose, public contribution. Core expression, artistic public expression, precision-based careers, refined reputation. Sun in Mrigashira, 10th, brings visibility through aesthetics, language, or emotional nuance. These natives may rise as educators, entertainers, or spokespeople with soft charisma. Saturn or Mercury in Mrigashira leans toward professions in journalism, cultural documentation, editing, media, and analytical roles. Their reputation builds through consistency and polished delivery. Talent themes: creative leadership, emotional intelligence at work, cultural PR, high-end design. Shadow side: fear of criticism, hiding talents, burnout from people-pleasing, lack of authority acceptance. Conclusion: Mrigashira's passive energy whispers rather than roars. It seeks beauty, connection, and understanding through exploration rather than assertion. It excels where precision, aesthetics, and grace are valued. These natives succeed not by conquering, but by enticing, not by demanding, but by deeply listening to what is yet unsaid. Understanding the passive nakshatras, Punarvasu, ruled by Jupiter and symbolized by a quiver of arrows, is a passive nakshatra embodying renewal, emotional intelligence, and second chances. It is the light that returns after the storm, introspective, healing, and guided by inner moral wisdom. Rather than fight for change, Punarvasu gently reconstructs it. Its brilliance lies in repetition that heals, in memory that reclaims, and in emotional reanchoring. When afflicted, it may drift in nostalgia, idealism, or procrastination. When favorable, it becomes a stabilizing force for others through optimism, resilience, and sacred continuity. Punarvasu's power is devotional and cyclical, repairing what was lost and uplifting what can still grow. Third house: skills, talent, communication. Core expression: restorative communication, emotional storytelling, teaching through memory. Sun in Punarvasu channels expressive, moral storytelling into speech. These natives speak with warmth and resonance. They may return to old ideas or skills and revive them with a new purpose. Mars in Punarvasu energizes emotional action through teaching, writing, or travel. There's a talent for building emotional trust through repetition, such as motivational speaking or mentorship. Mercury in Punarvasu softens speech, weaving healing and guidance through language. These natives may excel in advising, coaching, or writing memoirs and inspirational content. Talent themes: teaching, memoir writing, therapy, vocal performance, soulful communication. Shadow side: procrastination in communication, emotional avoidance, entanglements with siblings or neighbors. Fifth house: creative intelligence and learning style. Core expression: sacred repetition, emotional rhythm, devotional creativity. Sun or Jupiter in Punarvasu, fifth. Makes the native a teacher of moral stories or a performer with emotional depth. They are creative in phases, with inspiration often returning through memory or spiritual repetition. Venus in Punarvasu aligns creativity with rituals of beauty, reciting mantras, folk arts, or nurturing through relationship-themed stories. They may relive love stories, teaching emotional resilience through art. Talent themes: devotional poetry, folk traditions, counseling through stories, mantra arts shadow side, emotional loops, clinging to old heartbreaks, idealized parenting, internalized shame in learning. Ninth house: higher learning and belief systems. Core expression: wisdom through cycles, faith in returning light, spiritual optimism. Sun or Saturn in Punarvasu, ninth, seeks teachings that can be revisited. These are individuals who learn best through cyclical study. Revisiting scriptures, traveling to the same holy places, or studying the same themes through different lenses. Mars in Punarvasu brings courage to reframe one's faith and philosophy after failure. They serve as guides for those recovering from religious disillusionment or spiritual trauma. Talent themes: Vedic renewal, scriptural teaching, interfaith education, emotional spiritual integration. Shadow side: faith dependency, excessive nostalgia and belief, over-idealizing gurus. 10th house: career, purpose, public contribution, core expression, public healer, restorer, renewer through wisdom and emotional anchoring. Sun in Punarvasu 10th gives a respected presence built on moral integrity. These are public figures who rise again after setbacks, known for consistency and emotional supportiveness. Saturn or Mercury in Punarvasu refines the career toward advisory roles, education, or public speaking with an emotional tone. Their legacy may involve restoring broken systems or values. Talent themes: teaching reform, educational healing, inspirational leadership, humanitarian service. Shadow side: indecision in career, delayed success from repeated starts, too much giving without boundaries. Conclusion: Punarvasu teaches the healing power of return. In this passive nakshatra, the path is not direct. It bends, breaks, and mends again. It speaks to those who grow through cycles, learn through memory, and lead through restoration. These natives do not force transformation. They inspire it by returning again and again to what is worthy of being reborn. Understanding the passive nakshatras. Pushya, ruled by Saturn and symbolized by the cow's udder, is the nourishing heart of the zodiac. A passive nakshatra of emotional maturity, sacred responsibility, and devotional service, Pushya doesn't impose, it sustains. It offers stability through care, growth through protection, and wisdom through repetition. When afflicted, Pushya can become overburdened, emotionally numb, or rigid. When favorable, it produces guides, counselors, spiritual teachers, and tireless nurturers who hold others with integrity and compassion. Pushya doesn't create change by initiating chaos. It fosters slow, conscious evolution rooted in love and accountability. Third house: skills, talent, communication. Core expression: protective speech, practical skills and service, wise counsel through words. Sun in Pushya third speaks with paternal gravity. These natives carry emotional responsibility in their voice, excellent for roles in teaching, religious communication, or public advising. Mars in Pushya lends nurturing strength to the hands, ideal for massage therapy, emergency care, or martial traditions that protect others, like security or self-defense coaching. Mercury in Pushya expresses emotionally guided logic. These natives are tactful advisors, often involved in education, caregiving communication, or content around parenting and ethics. Talent themes: counseling, parental speech, emotionally intelligent writing, healing hands. Shadow side: passive aggression, emotional suppression in speech, overprotectiveness towards siblings. Fifth house: creative intelligence and learning style. Core expression, structured creativity, sacred responsibility in education, devotional artistry. Sun or Jupiter in Pushya, 5th, produces guardians of sacred knowledge, teachers, priests, or disciplined artists. Their creative process is devotional, slow, and deeply meaningful. Venus in Pushya leans toward classical arts, mantra, sacred dance, or music meant to comfort or elevate. Their aesthetic sense is rooted in grace, tradition, and service. Talent themes: Vedic arts, devotional learning, structured drama, child mentoring. Shadow side: fear of creative failure, emotional rigidity in learning, inability to relax into spontaneity. Ninth house: higher learning and belief systems. Core expression: devotional discipline, structured spirituality, ethical inheritance. Sun or Saturn in Pushya, 9th, holds tightly to ancestral wisdom. These individuals uphold lineage, religious, philosophical, or cultural. Their belief systems are protective, and they act as moral anchors in turbulent communities. Mars in Pushya serves through faith. They may lead pilgrimage groups, engage in humanitarian education, or act as fierce protectors of sacred laws. Talent themes: Dharma teachers, temple authorities, legal religious scholars, moral reformers. Shadow side: rigid dogma, emotional coldness in belief, inability to accept evolving truths. 10th house: career, purpose, public contribution. Core expression: visible service, institutional caregiving, emotional authority in public life. Sun in Pushya 10th radiates calm authority. These natives are seen as dependable pillars in healthcare, education, social work, or spiritual guidance. Saturn or Mercury in Pushya drives careers that require emotional discipline, administrative care roles, family law, hospice management, or social policy reform. They thrive in systems that require nurturing and order. Talent themes: counseling, child welfare, food industry, institutional leadership, emotional healing professions. Shadow side: public burnout, resentment from overservice, suppressed ambition, bureaucratic entanglement. Conclusion: Pushya teaches us that stability is sacred. In this passive nakshatra, change is created not by shaking the system, but by showing up with grace and accountability. Pushya natives embody devotion, duty, and the steady rhythm of healing. They don't rush, because what they offer is nourishment that lasts. Understanding the passive nakshatras. Hasta, ruled by the moon and symbolized by an open hand, is a passive nakshatra associated with craftsmanship, healing service, and sacred precision. It brings subtle mastery through touch, whether through healing, creation, or articulation. Hasta is not forceful. It manifests through concentration, discipline, and sacred routine. When afflicted, it can become overly controlling, worried, or scattered. But when favorable, it produces individuals who channel divine intelligence through their hands, meticulous artisans, spiritual healers, and guides who serve with grounded humility. In Hasta, grace is found in the tangible. The sacred becomes real when effort meets elegance. Third house: skills, talent, communication. Core expression: manual brilliance, skilled articulation, service-driven communication. Mercury's moon in Hasta 3rd combines emotional intelligence with communication brilliance. These individuals are born for writing, technical teaching, journalism, or content creation with an empathic touch. Their hands may also be skilled in healing or divination. Their words soothe, guide, and inform, perfect for therapeutic dialogue, palmistry, or precision communication fields. Talent themes: spiritual writing, media craft, palmistry, medical documentation, reflex therapy. Shadow side: overscheduling, anxiety from micromanagement, emotional rigidity in communication. 5th house: creative intelligence and learning style. Core expression: intelligent craftsmanship, creative service, sacred ritual artistry. Moon's Venus in Hasta grants artistic intelligence with a devotional edge. These individuals create with their hands: dance, music, embroidery, sculpture, with emotional sensitivity and refined beauty. They learn by doing and perfecting, ideal for arts tied to spirituality, children's education, or community storytelling. Talent themes: folk crafts, children's literature, hand-based arts, mantra teaching, sacred performance. Shadow side: performance anxiety, overly structured creativity, emotional dependence on feedback. 9th house: higher learning and belief systems. Core expression: applied philosophy, disciplined devotion, manual preservation of sacred knowledge. Jupiter plus moon in Hasta embodies the priestly scholar, emotionally devoted to preserving and transmitting spiritual wisdom. These natives may become caretakers of temples, Vedic scribes, educators, or teachers of healing techniques grounded in tradition. They are not loud reformers, they are quiet preservers of living knowledge. Talent themes: temple service, Vastu, Ayurveda, traditional education, healing arts based on ancient systems. Shadow side: dogmatic rituals, excessive moral self-judgment, fear of new spiritual systems. 10th house: career, purpose, public contribution. Public service through skill, healing hands, reputation for reliability. Saturn plus Moon in Hasta indicates emotionally grounded professional service. These individuals are respected for their commitment, consistency, and exactness. Careers may include nursing, caregiving, administration, or spiritual social work. Their public legacy is built through precision and humility, not power. Talent themes: healthcare management, caregiving institutions, spiritual administration, clerical excellence. Shadow side: burnout from service, invisibility in large systems, overworking for emotional validation. Conclusion: Hasta is the nakshatra where service becomes sacred. It refines life through hands, whether healing, writing, crafting, or holding others gently. Its passive nature lies in surrendering to daily devotion to the small rituals that shape a life of meaning. These natives change the world not by grand vision, but by doing the work, one handprint at a time. Understanding the passive nakshatras. Swati, ruled by Rahu and symbolized by a young sprout swaying in the wind, is a passive nakshatra of independence, adaptability, and inner equilibrium. It moves gently but purposefully, gathering knowledge, observing systems, and harmonizing within chaos. Its power lies in self-direction, negotiation, and the quiet force of air. When afflicted, Swati may become indecisive, overly accommodating, or lost in comparison. When favorable, it produces graceful intellectuals, peacemakers, and entrepreneurs who succeed by mastering their own rhythm and guiding others with tact and vision. Swati is the diplomat of the sky, fluid in form, but firm in internal compass. 3rd house: skills, talent, communication. Core expression: diplomatic communication, graceful articulation, entrepreneurial speech. Mercury, Venus in Swati creates charismatic communicators. These natives are skilled negotiators, social media mavens, or content creators with a smooth, charming delivery. They learn fast and can handle multiple languages, PR strategies, or artistic projects. Their words heal conflict, and they often become the bridge among diverse groups. Mediation, voice artistry, linguistics, marketing, fashion media. Shadow side: surface-level connection, vanity in speech, burnout from social comparison. 5th house: creative intelligence and learning style. Core expression: elegant intelligence, artistic expression, flexibility in learning. Moon, Venus in Swati, 5th, enhances romantic imagination and creative intellect. These individuals learn through beauty, music, and storytelling. They may excel in performance arts, cultural diplomacy, or education that values diversity and individuality. Children are often seen as unique souls to be nurtured with emotional intelligence. Talent themes: music, theater, design, intercultural education, artistic diplomacy. Shadow side: creative distractions, codependence and expression, reluctance to lead. 9th house: higher learning and belief systems. Core expression: open-minded exploration, intellectual flexibility, moral negotiation. Jupiter's Mercury in Swati 9th produces thinkers and travelers who absorb multiple philosophies. These natives question dogma, explore liberal thought systems, and may work in international law, religious studies, or cross-cultural teaching. They often act as translators of languages, ideologies, and traditions. Talent themes: international education, comparative religion, legal reform, philosophy writing. Shadow side: belief in constant relativism, lack of conviction, avoidance of spiritual depth. 10th house: career, purpose, public contribution. Core expression: self-made strategist, graceful problem solver, visible negotiator. Saturn plus Venus in Swati denotes a career shaped by patient diplomacy and refined aesthetics. These individuals lead with class, often excelling in law, human resources, luxury branding, or corporate training. They are known for balance, not dominance. They build empires by collaborating, not by conquering. Talent themes: law, public relations, luxury goods, corporate coaching, organizational design. Shadow side: difficulty asserting authority, over-accommodation, fear of controversy. Conclusion: Swati shows that true strength is not in rigidity, but in resilience. Its passive nature dances with change, not to escape, but to thrive. It brings elegance to the intellect, calm to the storm, and artistry to expression. These natives redefine power, not by control, but by the freedom to move with the wind while staying rooted in their truth. Understanding the passive nakshatras. Anuradha, ruled by Saturn and symbolized by the lotus, represents disciplined devotion, emotional depth, and loyal companionship. As a passive nakshatra, it does not initiate from ego, but from trust, promise, and inner resilience. Anuradha excels in forming meaningful bonds, managing complex emotional terrain, and serving spiritual or humanitarian causes. When afflicted, it struggles with jealousy, emotional repression, or unmet expectations. When favorable, it gives rise to mystics, loyal leaders, counselors, and protectors, those who flourish through commitment and shared purpose. Anuradha rises not by power, but by love held with integrity, by devotion offered without display. Third house, skills, talent, communication. Core expression, emotional intelligence in speech, loyalty and skill sharing, mystical articulation. Mercury Saturn in Anuradha creates grounded, respectful communicators. Their words carry weight, meant to soothe, counsel, or protect. These natives excel in grief counseling, trauma therapy, mystical writing, or structured communication platforms. They are skilled at listening between the lines and giving emotionally stabilizing responses. Talent themes: therapy, spiritual writing, emotional coaching, nonviolent communication. Shadow side: closed-off expression, fear of being misunderstood, holding grudges and sibling dynamics. Fifth house, creative intelligence and learning style, core expression, disciplined creativity, devotional intelligence, emotional precision and performance. Moon plus Venus in Anuradha brings intense emotional bonding through art. These individuals learn through emotional resonance, music, poetry, devotional performance. They may be drawn to sacred drama, spiritual dance, or healing through creative ritual. There is often a karmic connection with children or students who test emotional maturity. Talent themes: mantra-based arts, sacred theater, poetry with emotional weight, children's healing arts. Possessiveness over creative identity, heartbreak wounds and artistic expression, student rivalry. Ninth house, higher learning and belief systems, core expression, devotional pilgrimage, spiritual loyalty, mystical learning, Jupiter plus Saturn in Anuradha. Ninth produces structured seekers, pilgrims of Dharma who are deeply loyal to one lineage or teacher. These natives may walk the path of Tantra, mantra, or secret yogic sciences. They teach not through assertion, but through presence. They excel in esoteric law, mythology, and karmic philosophy. Talent themes: astrology, Tantra education, secret spiritual traditions, Vedic ethics. Shadow side: rigid spiritual hierarchy, loyalty to unworthy teachers, repression of new insights. 10th house, career, purpose, public contribution. Core expression: loyal leadership, emotional diplomacy, public mysticism. Moon plus Saturn in Anuradha 10th grants a public life built on quiet service. These individuals often serve as protectors of secrets, institutions, or vulnerable populations. They may become heads of healing organizations, death doulas, crisis counselors, or spiritual managers. Their authority is subtle. They govern through presence and emotional regulation. Talent themes: psychology, hospice care, mystical leadership, NGO or humanitarian administration. Shadow side: public invisibility, emotional burden in career, disillusionment with authority. Conclusion: Anuradha is the keeper of sacred bonds. Its passive power is loyalty, not to people alone, but to soul promises. These natives do not lead loudly, but they endure. They love deeply, serve steadily, and offer the kind of stability that grows empires of trust. In Anuradha, love is work, and work is devotion. Understanding the passive nakshatras. Shravana, ruled by the moon and symbolized by the ear, is a passive nakshatra devoted to deep listening, sacred learning, and humble transmission of wisdom. Rather than seeking to change the world directly, Shravana receives, reflects, and relays, becoming a vessel for tradition, spiritual sound, and social cohesion. When afflicted, it can fall into excessive passivity, people-pleasing, or emotional withdrawal. But when favorable, it produces excellent teachers, linguists, priests, counselors, and those whose quiet influence shapes generations. Shravana does not shout. It hears what others miss, remembers what matters, and transmits it with reverence. Third house, skills, talent, communication, core expression, sacred communication, ritual speech, messenger of wisdom. Moon's Mercury in Shravana creates brilliant communicators who intuitively know what to say and when. These natives are gifted in language arts, sacred chant, spiritual blogging, or interpretive storytelling. They often write or speak about moral, psychological, or spiritual principles. Their hands may be involved in teaching, healing, or crafting tools of spiritual value, like mala beads, writing scrolls, etc. Talent themes: sacred speech, translation, podcasting, devotional publishing, counseling siblings. Shadow side: avoidance of confrontation, oversensitivity to feedback, echoing others' truths without ownership. Fifth house: creative intelligence and learning style. Core expression: ritual creativity, emotionally rooted memory, structured learning. Moon plus Jupiter in Shravana produces minds steeped in devotion and tradition. These individuals create through sound, structure, and storytelling. They may teach mantra to children, write mythological stories, or preserve ancient knowledge through media. They learn best through repetition and emotional connection, often becoming memory keepers for their lineage. Talent themes: chanting arts, oral history, child education in Dharma, storytelling through music. Shadow side: over-attachment to tradition, fear of innovation, pressure to live up to past teachings. Ninth house: higher learning and belief systems. Core expression: pilgrimage-based knowledge, spiritual documentation, keeper of ancestral wisdom. Jupiter plus Saturn in Shravana, ninth, creates a deep-rooted seeker. These natives preserve dharmic structures, temples, rituals, or oral texts. They may travel extensively for spiritual study or act as archivists of sacred knowledge. Their philosophy is lived, not theorized, embodied through rituals and remembrance. Talent themes: Vedic scholarship, religious writing, temple caretaking, pilgrimage leadership. Shadow side: dogmatism, reluctance to adapt, guilt when questioning tradition. 10th house: career, purpose, public contribution, core expression, public educator, ritual leader, structured wisdom carrier. Moon plus Saturn in Shravana gives the ability to influence society through quiet yet powerful service. These individuals become teachers, priests, government educators, language preservers, or institutional historians. They may be sought out as advisors in spiritual or social roles, known for their memory and ability to reflect collective needs. Talent themes: educational leadership, cultural preservation, religious service, NGO or government teaching. Shadow side: fear of public voice, emotional exhaustion from holding others' stories, invisibility behind institutions. Conclusion: Shravana is the ear of the cosmos. Its passive strength lies not in invention, but in preservation. These natives carry sacred sound, memory, and dharma through speech, silence, and service. In a world loud with opinion, Shravana listens, and by listening deeply, it becomes a bridge, from the past to the future, from the divine to the human. Understanding the passive Nakshatras, Purva Bhadrapada. Purva Bhadrapada, ruled by Jupiter and symbolized by the two-faced man, is a passive nakshatra of philosophical depth, inner fire, and transformative duality. It dwells in paradox, holding both the sacred and the profane, the ritual and the wild. These natives are rarely loud in expression, but their presence is intense, otherworldly, and unsettlingly wise. When afflicted, it may express through emotional detachment, existential burnout, or moral ambiguity. When favorable, it produces transformative thinkers, spiritual guides, and psychological reformers, those who quietly dismantle falsehood and light the torch of inner truth. Purva Bhadrapada walks with one foot in the visible world and one in the realm of the eternal. It listens to the silence within and lets that silence reform the world. Third house: skills, talent, communication. Core expression, esoteric speech, piercing insight, truth, spoken with eerie calm. Jupiter plus Mercury in Purva Bhadrapada, third, forms a truth-channeling communicator, one who sees through social masks. These natives may be investigative writers, spiritual bloggers, or radical educators who use their voice to reveal hidden dysfunction. Their communication often carries a dual tone, rational yet mystical, humorous yet grim. Talent themes: shadow psychology writing, myth-breaking, spiritual satire, investigative speech. Cryptic communication, disillusionment with peers, verbal alienation or silence when truth is denied. Fifth house, creative intelligence and learning style. Core expression, ritualized creativity, spiritual drama, emotional symbolism. Venus plus Jupiter in Purva Bhadrapada fifth produces sacred performers or artists who channel mysticism through poetry, storytelling, or trance-inducing arts. Their creativity is symbolic, often misunderstood until later in life. They are gifted in arts tied to transformation, drama, astrology, mantra, psychological theater. Talent themes: spiritual storytelling, tantric drama, mystical film, symbolic art education. Shadow side: isolation in artistic expression, dualistic love narratives, fear of true emotional vulnerability. Ninth house, higher learning and belief systems. Core expression: spiritual confrontation, inner truth-seeking, destruction of false belief. Saturn plus Jupiter in Purva Bhadrapada, ninth, produces philosophical warriors, those who break inherited structures not to rebel, but to reveal pure wisdom. These natives are drawn to hidden or mystical traditions, Vedanta, Kabbalah, Advaita, occult ethics. They become spiritual realists, dismantling illusions with compassion. Talent themes: metaphysical reform, comparative mysticism, philosophy of paradox, death and rebirth studies. Shadow side: loss of faith, over-identification with suffering, spiritual nihilism. 10th house, career, purpose, public contribution, core expression, transformative leadership, ethical disruption, reformation through sacrifice. Jupiter plus Saturn in Purva Bhadrapada 10th gives a public path marked by karmic endurance and spiritual purpose. These natives often rise in fields of esoteric guidance, public reform, or healing through intense crisis. They may be advisors, non-traditional spiritual leaders, or crisis-era teachers. They're known for solving problems no one else sees and bearing burdens no one else can. Talent themes: crisis reform, death counseling, spiritual governance, hidden service roles. Shadow side: public misunderstanding, burden of spiritual loneliness, fear of recognition due to inner duality. Conclusion: Purva Bhadrapada is the fire beneath still water. Its passive strength is not in action, but in presence that alters reality. These natives are portals between what is known and what must be faced. They transform not by noise, but by burning through illusion with quiet flame. To walk with them is to walk toward truth, whether you are ready or not.